As we are emerging from bankruptcy, Sri Lanka is now focusing on a new economic framework, a transition into a highly competitive, export-oriented economy committed to achieving net zero, an economy committed to modernizing agriculture. We have already started the work, but now comes the planning stage. What are the new sectors of the economy? What are the energy sources for Sri Lanka? And this is where the green energy, green hydrogen comes into the picture. The role of green energy in the Sri Lankan economy. We have sufficient potential to emerge as player in the field of renewable energy. Sri Lanka's own dry zone and its potential for wind power is such that we have identified this sector for rapid development. It's also in line with Sri Lanka's commitment to achieve net zero. As I said, 2050 is too long. Let us try and see whether we can do it by 2040. And we are working on this. So let me now outline for you the steps we have taken. We have already brought in the energy reform bill, which was okayed by the Supreme Court about 2 days back with a number of amendments which the ministry finds acceptable, which means this bill debated in Parliament and to be passed. Second is the economic transformation bill, which has already been tabled in Parliament. Most probably there are challenges with the Supreme Court, and certainly by early July this should be the law. So this is two of the legislative enactments that fall into place. Then we will also be looking at two other pieces of legislation. One is the Climate Change Act. The Climate Change Act is being drafted, and that is that's the third piece of legislation. Fourth, which we have to discuss, whether we need energy transition legislation also. Some countries have energy transition legislation. We've also looked at some areas such as the South Australian. It may be useful for us to have energy transition legislation. Because one is we are going to a new sector, we are opening it up, and not merely power generation but power distribution will have the private sector playing the lead role. So it's going to be private sector driven. There's no other way in which we can achieve our targets by 2040 or for that matter 2050. The Ministry of Finance will also work with others, the Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Power, on a green finance policy. So the green finance policy will also drive us. So these are the components that we will have for the transition into green hydrogen, into using renewable energy. Next comes the issue of green hydrogen and our potential for green hydrogen. It is estimated to be about 40 gigawatts, can be more. There's also the other issue that has come of how do we safeguard the bird life in the Mannar area. I think in my view this can be done and it should be done. Nevertheless, there is a heavy potential for green hydrogen. But there are many more questions to be answered about green hydrogen today than earlier. So we have to work at what is the cost, when is it going to be attractive for private sector investments. But I note that India has already in its plans included the export of green hydrogen, a fairly substantial amount of green hydrogen. Secondly is the new undersea cables that are coming on for power distribution. One is between Australia and Singapore. The other is between Singapore and India. Now Sri Lanka has the potential of connecting to the Indo-Singapore undersea cable. So that's where the potential is. While looking at the uses of green hydrogen, we feel that it will help us in the long term to become a logistics center for the region. We have 3 ports. Trincomalee, which is close to the green hydrogen sources, Hambantota, in the south there's also green hydrogen available, and finally Colombo. So these would be the areas. We are also discussing with India land connectivity between South India and Sri Lanka, which means we also have the potential of reaching out into the South India. We are already, any case, we are discussing the power link connectivity between Sri Lanka and India. So all this falls into place. It is how do we use it? What's the framework that we have for the exploitation of renewable energy in Sri Lanka? And then what will be the future trends of the green hydrogen? About a month back, PricewaterhouseCoopers put out its latest report on green hydrogen, which is very interesting. So we've got to work this out. But what we want from you all and the help is a plan for Sri Lanka to go ahead. That's why we have to call everyone in. We haven't the full expertise, I must admit. We need assistance from outside. So World Bank, ADB, and others who are interested certainly would come in, because we are committed to a green economy and we want to go ahead. This in short is what Sri Lanka is planning to do. The rest of the details, I leave it to you to tell the government what has to be done.